Mike Gibson Records. I wanna do
Yes, Miss
something
Peppy, can you hear me?
legal. I wanna do something legal. Hey, I wanna do something legal. I wanna do something legal. Hey, doing business legally in China just got better. Join us this Saturday as we'll discuss how to do business legally in China with Edmond Ugweifo and Edgar Choi as our speakers and our moderators.
I'm from Nigeria, and my friends call me Constellation. And today I'll be so happy to show and share more experience on how foreigners can work in China legally and, of course, grow their careers and their business. I'm going to try my best to make sure I explain every detailed steps and how it can go fine if implemented in the right way. Thank you. My name is Edmond, and happy to be on this platform. Thanks.
All right, Mr. Edmund, thank you so much. And Mr. Edgar, um, how would you like to be addressed? Attorney Edgar or just Mr. Edgar?
You can just call me Mr. Edgar, okay? To keep it friendly, you know? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna open this a little bit bigger. Okay. Hello, guys. Well, it's a pleasure meeting you all. I'm glad to be the only Chinese guy around, I guess, in this seminar. So it's really an honor to, well, have this, to enjoy this lovely evening with our honored guests tonight and to talk about doing business legally in China. So I'll introduce myself very, very briefly here. So I'm an attorney licensed to practice in PR China. And I've been in the game for more than 3 years now. And well, I have done quite a lot these 3 years. And I've served over, I guess, 200 clients now, at least 200 clients all over the world, from China to Americas to Asia. Well, and we do have, I do have quite a lot of experience in the law regarding foreigners in China, but out of China. So I guess we'll talk more about that later, okay? And I would like to give the mic back to maybe Pepe, because she's online now. Yeah.
Okay. Um, yes, thank you so much. And Miss Pepe, are you able to introduce yourself at this moment or?
Yeah, please. I'm sorry I had a network problem, but everything is fine now. So hi, my name is Perpetua. So for short, we say Pepe. So everybody's fond of calling me that. Anyway, I'm from Nigeria and doing my PhD here. I'm not yet a worker, but maybe someday I would be interested in having a work visa. So to me, this seminar is actually equally important to me. So I'm happy and glad to be one of the moderators today. So glad to have everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And this is the way we're going to do it today. We're going to have our two speakers speak to us from whatever the legal point of view, the experience point of view, speak from their hearts on what it takes to legally work here in China. We will begin with you, first of all, Mr. Edmund, and then you can speak to us. And if the audience has questions, feel free to raise your hands or to type your question on the chat. We will be more than happy to answer your question. After Mr. Edmund entertains us, then Attorney Edgar, you will come in and you will also share with us what you brought to tell the people, especially those of us that live in China, because many people get in trouble. They would go to a school, for example, and arrest A lot of teachers there, straight to the prison, straight deportation to their homeland. We want to avoid that. So, Attorney Edgar, we're looking forward to hearing from you. But let us get started with Mr. Edmund first. Mr. Edmund, over to you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Well, today, this topic is really broad, but I will try my best to because I have some lot of writes up here, and I'll try my best to make sure it's simplified. So first of all, I begin. Again, my name is Edmond. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm working in Shanghai and EU, respectively. So first of all, I'm going to try to narrow this topic to those who are aspiring to work in China in general. Now, before I begin, I want to give you a short overview of how it works. Every country in the whole world, the China, in the US, in Australia, in Canada, every country, they have their prospects. And their prospect number one is they make their country as a trade. So, which means that whenever you live in any of these so-called developed or developing countries, you have to subject yourself to their rules. Because the reality is they see everything as trade because they want to be number one in the world. So how can they be number one? How can these countries be number one in the world? So they have
Please,
to rely on. Okay.
could you check your mic? It's like your voice is a bit low and you are reflecting.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's okay now. Let me try to increase the volume. Yeah, is it fine? Hello. Hello. Hello.
I think you should get you should get the earphone off, cancellation. That
Yeah,
will be better.
we can hear you, but I think the problem is from your earpiece.
Okay. I don't know. Is it better like this? Hello.
Yeah, seems a bit better.
Much
Okay.
better.
Okay. Thanks. So I have to put my head down to talk. Okay. Okay. So every country, like I said every country is a trade. So in the China, for example, they want the foreign people who are here to contribute positively to their country. That is a fact. So now, how can all this be done? Because I'm in Beijing right now, and I hear so many stories from Emilia and from other guys in Beijing that they rejected our visas and all this stuff. That's not completely true. Because when you check the mirrors carefully, you find out that it's most of these foreigners who are actually having these problems. So I begin. Now, my first topic is for foreigners applying for their visa. When to apply? Number one, when to apply is as a foreigner, if you are going to graduate in 6 months' time, you should apply at least before 6 months because there are steps you follow. I'm not going to mention the steps today, but I'll just try to make it in the brief. So every foreigner who wants to work in China or open a company in China, the first step you should do, like I did and like my friends did, is to apply for your visa 6 months before your visa expires. You applying 6 months does not mean that they're going to cancel your student visa. No. When you apply 6 months before the time, that is, you are applying for a work notification later. So at that time, 2 months later, you will know if you have been accepted or you're rejected. So the first step is for whoever is applying for this visa in China and he or she doesn't want to exit, should make sure he is applying, I repeat, 6 months before the expiration of his or her visas. That's the first step. And why are most people denied their visa when they want to extend it or something? Again, many foreigners in China, after they open their company, they've gotten their 1 year visa or their 6 month visa. They think that, that's it. I have my working visa. I'm not tracked. But that's false. Because when you apply for your visa, your name is on the system. And when you come to apply for the visa next time, the immigration officer will not tell you something. It's about the tax system. Now, when you have a company or you're doing a business, you make sure that most of your transactions should not pass through PayPal, should not pass through Alipay or WeChat. Try to make sure most of your, at least 80% of your transaction pass through the company bank account. Because now, just imagine your company or your business has revenue 200,000 yuan in a year or 400,000 yuan in a year. So how would immigration know? How would they know that you do business here? They don't know because the tax system is linked to the immigration. So whenever you make a transaction within your bank, they know because they have the record, the transcript. So the reason why most people get denied for the second time of their visa is because their company is not having a proper or a stable income. So the solution is, as a businessman or those who have a company or those who are working, make sure that whenever your client pays money, try to tell them, please do not send the money to your WeChat or your Alipay. They should transfer the funds to your company bank. Then when you transfer the funds to your company bank, no matter how small, then you generate the official fapiao. It's called fapiao, a Chinese fapiao, because a fapiao can be audited. A fapiao has a tracking number. For every fapiao you generate, a record goes to the immigration. So most foreigners like to skip this step because they feel whenever they have fapiao, they have to pay for tax. The tax is a very tiny fraction. So, in brief, for those who have gotten a visa or doing the business, make sure that your company or your business is providing fapiao every month, if possible. At least one or twice a month is fine. So that whenever you go to renew your visa, you don't need to tell the immigration. The immigration sees it on their system. Wow, this boy or this girl or this company, wow, in 12 months, they have about 24 fapiao or 48 or 56. Your visa is automatic. By the way, I have some friends here who have 5 years working visa in this same China. Why? Because whenever they go to extend their visas, they have a bunch of fapiaos, so which they show to the immigration officer. True fapiao, not fake. And the immigration officer know that they are bringing value to their country. That is China. So their visa could be extended for 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. So what I just talked about now is for the further extension. So please, as a company or as a businessman, or for those who are about to enter the process, you remember your company must not always take money on Alipay or WeChat. You try to pass your company funds through the company bank, and if you don't have a company bank, you must open one because the immigration is linked to the bank and the bank is linked to the tax system. So everything is linked here in China. Okay, then the other topic is the why do police arrest some foreigners? You get, yeah, because I understand foreigners are having their trading, probably trading business visa, but they are teaching English and the police are arrested. Yes, that's another key point. Now, let's get it straight and let's get it right. Okay, legally in China, there are some nationalities that are listed that these people they cannot do teaching job in China. That's a fact. So, yeah, you have to find out. I know Nigeria they cannot do teaching job in China. From what I know, 100% is South African. They can do the teaching job. American, Australian, UK, and some other countries. So find out yourself if your country cannot do teaching job in China. Please do not attempt to do it. Otherwise, you will be caught. It just take time. You might be successful in first year, second year, but when you are caught, all your whole dream is ruined. However, even though you want to teach in a training center, you make it straightforward. Now, for example, I have this is my passport, for example, okay? On my passport, I have the visa of training visa, okay? Now, I want to teach in a training school, okay? So what I need to do is, I will visit the owner of that training school. I will tell the owner that, listen, boss, I have my visa myself, which is a training visa, but I want to teach in your institution. So the training school should provide you with an official contract. So the contract should be written clearly that they are employing you for education, technology, blah blah blah. Just link it with a contract that they are employing you with, that you are providing them with some kind of services like education consultancy or whatever. So now, when you have a legal contract, now you tell the school to pay your salary through your bank, your company bank account. You get. But if you are doing this, you must make sure that you have to report, because I believe every company has an accountant. So you have to inform your accountant that this is the situation of things, because maybe after 2 or 3 months, the government or the police, because they do follow you up and down in China, if you don't know. So whenever the police catches you in the training center or somewhere, you tell the police that, listen, I have a contract with these people and I'm providing them with a service. So when they hold you, they will check everything carefully, and once they find out you have a contract and the funds or whatever is coming to the right channel, they're going to leave you. So please, in conclusion for this particular topic, if you want to work in a training school, number one, you have to check with the if your country is eligible to teach English in China or to teach mathematics or any subject. If your country is eligible, it's fine. But if your country is not eligible, you can try to get a contract and sign the contract with the owner of the training center that you want to do this stuff here. And of course, take the contract and report to your immigration and explain to them the situation of things. I believe, and I've seen also, the immigration is going to be fair to give you your, to allow you, and of course, they will allow the police as well too. So, from what I said now, I give you a raw example because I have to give you an example of someone. Then, while I'm speaking, I have some friends who are doing, who have a consulting company in um, in um, in Shanghai. They had a consulting company in Shanghai, but okay, but they are working in Tianjin. Okay, they are working with the BMW company in there. Okay, so what they did was they signed a contract with the BMW that, oh, please, I have a company here, but I have experience in auto parts. So the BMW in Tianjin employed them, but of course they did the contract first with them. Now they are working happily in Tianjin, and of course they inform the police authority. So that's how to do that. So right now I've explained having a visa and working in a different company. That's what I explained just now. Then, okay, please ask a question. Okay, yeah. So that's the key part. Again, before my time elapses, let me go through the previous steps again for those who just join us now. The first step, if you're applying for a work visa in China legally, you have to make sure you apply for your visa 6 months before the expiration of your visa. Now, I don't have time to share the checklist, but some of the checklists are: you must have a bachelor's degree in China or abroad. You must bring your police report from your home country, and you must testify it at your embassy. You must have a valid visa, whether student visa or some other kind of visas. You must have your medical checkup. You must have your maybe like a transfer letter or like proof that you're going to graduate at this time, and so forth. It's a basic document. So once you have all these ones, you look for the right agency, like Mr. I don't know, I do this job before, but right now I don't do it. But I look for a right agency to assist you with your applications. And please make sure you apply for your visa 6 months before your visa expires. Otherwise, if you apply for the visa in 3 months or 2 months, you end up graduating and you end up having a T visa, which will finally make you have an unstable life in China when you're trying to switch from student to work. So the next topic, which I've explained just now, was the visa policies and the taxations. So now that you've gotten your visa, now that you've gotten your job or you've opened your company, please, in China right now, they hardly give 1 year visa. So they will give you 3 months first, or they'll give you 1 year first, or they'll give you 6 months first to see if you understand the system. So whenever you get your first 6 months or your first 3 months work visa, please, you should make sure most money coming into your company, no matter how small, 500 kwai, 1,000 kwai, 5,000 yuan, make sure that those money pass through your company bank. Because people are smart, people are not stupid. Remember, I repeat, people are smart, people are not stupid. I'm referring to immigration. Make sure you audit all your company funds, most of your company funds, it should pass through your bank. Don't worry, nobody's tracking you. Okay, you are doing things legally, right? So you don't want to mix. You don't want to. You are doing it for your future, not for anyone. It's for your future. So once you receive money from your customers, or you want to send money to other countries, wherever, you make sure you send it from your company bank to the next company. When you do that, you are leaving a record on your company bank that, oh, this month I received 50,000 yuan, and it was sent to this factory, or it was sent to this place. There should be a record. Don't worry about the record. It's not your job. Every company in China has an accountant. That's their job. All you need to do is just have your company token or your company bank account or credit card. Then that's fine. You can do all the stuff. And at the end of the day, when you are going to apply for your visa, it's automatic. No one is going to reject you. Many of the friends I used to have before in Liaoning province, as an example, I was in Liaoning, I have some friends in Liaoning province and in Beijing. In 2018, many of them, about 90 something percent of them, they canceled all their visas. Why? Because they got the work visa, and when they got the work visa, they didn't get this information you are getting right now. This information, they didn't get it. They think, oh, when you have the work visa, life is easy. Life is never easy. When they got their work visa, they went to other cities to do something else. Some of them stayed back in their city, they were relaxing. So, my question to the audience today is, why would the Chinese immigration give you visa when you are contributing nothing to this country? It doesn't make sense. Life is a business, life is a trade. You are in this country, you are not doing it for them. So you are in this country, the work visa, and you go every year to collect 1 year or collect 6 months. Why should I give you the visa? What is your what is your worth in this country? So according to these immigration laws, which of course in the US they practice this law, and in the UK they have to reject your visa even before your visa expires. They cancel some. So for you to live happily, forget about what friend says. For you to live happily in China, yeah, I know there are discrimination sometimes, but trust me, the discrimination is a fiction. Just do the right thing. You have a business, a company, make sure that the funds you make pass through a company bank. And when you pass through a company bank, you generate the right taxation, pay your tax on time. I think they do it yearly. Once you pay your tax on time, trust me, you will never, I repeat, you will never experience visa deny or some kind of visa rejection. Lastly, so that I give the other speaker time to speak, make sure when you have your business or your office or wherever, try to be in your city. It's important because your city gave you that visa, and now you're going to another city. So the airport system and the train station system is linked to the immigration. Okay, so when you leave your city, they know you left. So just imagine you get your visa in Shanghai and you are in Guangzhou for 11 months. Come on. And after your visa expires, you come back to renew in Shanghai. They want to deny you. So even though you want to leave Shanghai to Guangzhou, it's very straightforward. Let whoever is engaging you in Guangzhou give you a contract. Because when you are going to renew your visa, you have to tell the immigration. Maybe they must have missed that. Oh, immigration, I spent 11 months there because I had a contract job. You show them the contract. Or better still, you can upload the contract with your accountant who is a Chinese. Then when you're going to renew your visa, the immigration will check it carefully. The immigration will call to make sure that, oh, you were at this city for some reasons, then it will be fine. So I think I better drop my floor now. After the next speaker, then I'll be. I hope the audience can. I hope the team, like, they can give me more time to express myself more on some other vital parts. Thank you very much for your time. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Actually spilled a lot.
Thank you
Now
very much. Thank you.
come back to you. Miss Emilia.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Pepe, I'm going to let you take over for maybe 30 minutes while I situate myself into a better environment because this music at Starbucks is getting out of the way. I'm sure it's disturbing our audience. So, Miss Pepe, take it over from there. And you can bring in Attorney Edgar at this moment. Uh, Audience, if you have your questions, just hold on to them. You will ask them at the end after our second speaker has spoken. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Emilia.
Also, we have also our other moderator, Mr. Ken. He's with us. Miss Pepe, before our next speaker comes on, let's have Mr. Ken introduce himself very briefly. Mr. Ken, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening from China. I can see Anthony Edgar laughing. Good evening from China and good day from Africa. I'm Ken, business consultant. Happy to be here with you guys today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ken. Good to see your face again. It's been long, you know.
Thank you.
Glad to see you
Thank
again.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm still thanking the last speaker. Thank you for sharing with us. And now over to Mr. Edgar. If you don't know, for those of you that just came in late, Mr. Edgar is a lawyer. For I don't know, but I know you as a foreigner lawyer, you know, because most times I've read some of his information on some articles. I'm like, this lawyer must be really wonderful. Like he's really different, you know. And I've also seen him talk in the group. Yeah, one group like with teachers group. I'm like, oh, maybe that's the lawyer Edgar I've been reading on newspaper, and I'm so glad to see your face today. So you're welcome. Now over, I'm giving the platform to you to share what you have for us today. And while we do that, before you go on, I would urge our audience to please, if you have your question, drop it on the chat box. Maybe I can read it out, or the speakers will choose to read the questions themselves. Or if you're so brave enough, so eloquent enough, you can unmute yourself and ask the question yourself. That is when we get to the question and answer sections. Okay, over to you, Mr. Edgar.
Okay, I actually prepared a simple PowerPoint that I would like to share. Could you give me the what's that called? Give me the authority to
Okay, sure. Constellation, please permit him to share his
share my
PowerPoint.
screen. Yep. Okay. Hey, just gotta give me the here we go. Okay.
Yes, I'm muted already. Thank you. He's a
Yep.
co-host already. Thanks.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me see how to. Okay, I think this will work now. I wonder if you're if you're still seeing me, right? In the small, you can still see me, right? But you're looking at the PowerPoint, right?
Sure.
Okay, you can see the PowerPoint, right? Okay, good.
Sure.
So I'll just, in case there's some latecomers, I'm just gonna give a very brief about introduction about myself. So I'm the author of the 4 books that you can see on the left, and the newest one being the one on the bottom right corner, which is called Business Law in a Minute. And well, I dedicated around more than a quarter of the book to labor law because I found out that the main problems that foreigners have in China are labor related. Okay, so that's why I dedicated a lot of the content of the book to labor law. So anyways, gonna move on to next slide. So this is my office, okay? We have a whole floor in Nanshan. So it's like more than, I think it's around 3,000 square meters, okay? And these are some photos that I have with some clients that I've been dealing with over the past 3 years. So we move on to our main topic of today. So as our topic is how to do business legally in China. So um, obviously, um, there are two ways of working in China. The first type is to start up your own company, right? And the second one is to be an employee in a Chinese company. So I'm going to talk about the first one here. Okay, incorporating a company. A lot of expats always ask me, is the Chinese partner needed? Because everybody thinks that you must have a Chinese partner. Must be some Chinese guy that you must partner with and share your money with him to be able to um, have a business in China. But that is actually false. Okay, you don't need a Chinese partner. In fact, you can be the sole owner of a company in China. So only you, one person, you can own 100% of the company. Okay. Or obviously, you can also choose to cooperate with maybe some friends from your own country, or obviously some Chinese people as well. But it is not a requirement. Okay. So I would like to clear this up here. You do not need a Chinese partner. Okay. Just you is fine. And well, the second question that people always ask me is that, hey Edgar, maybe I'm in Nigeria now. How can I open a company in China when I am in Nigeria? This is also a very, very popular question, right? So maybe you want some business to do in China, maybe some trading business. So in this case, the answer is it depends on the city, okay? So for example, for Guangzhou, you gotta be in China to be able to open the company. But for example, if you're in Shenzhen, as long as you have a notarized entrustment letter, which basically says, I give the power to, say, Edgar, okay, I give the power to Edgar to open this company in China on my behalf. As long as you have this kind of letter signed and notarized by a Chinese embassy in your country, then I can do it for you. Okay. But for some cities like Guangzhou, they must see you in person. Okay. So it really depends on city. And I'll answer you based on which city you're in. Okay. So moving on to the next question. What is the best type of business to run in China? So actually in China, we have a few types of businesses that you can choose from. We have partnership, okay? Partnership, and we have limited company. So for a limited company, you are protected by law. Like in case one day something bad happens and you get cheated and you lose a lot of money and you are being sued, okay? In this case, if you have a limited company, you are only liable to the amount that is written on your business license, which brings us to the fourth line in the slide, which is registered capital. But I'll explain more on that later. Okay, so just keep this in mind first. Registered capital, okay? It is the amount that is put on your business license. So the first type of company, which is also the most normal and most, I would say, most people would choose this type, okay? And I would also advise you to choose this type because you're protected in case the business goes sour one day. Or the other type of business is called a partnership, okay? So for example, a law firm is a partnership. Accounting firm is also a partnership. And most consulting firms, maybe architecture firms, auditing firms, these kinds of businesses, usually it's a service business, okay? So most of these businesses are partnerships. Partnerships are not protected by limited liability, which means that if there's a major accident that happens in the firm and somebody sues the firm for a huge amount of money, then the partners will have to take the money from their own pockets and pay it to the person they owe it to. So you might want to ask, so why should I choose the partnership, right? Why shouldn't everybody just choose a limited company? So the answer to this question is very simple. There is more trust in the partnership. So I believe you will trust your lawyer more if you know that if he makes a terrible mistake, he is personally liability for his mistakes, right? So that's why law firms, accounting firms, consulting firms are usually partnerships. So we move on to the third line here, which are prohibited businesses. So China does not allow you to open all types of businesses, okay? But you can open around 99%. So only a few areas that you can't do. And I will give you a few examples here. For example, it's very easy to understand, okay? You cannot open a military company to make nuclear warheads, okay? Obviously, this is prohibited. And you cannot make your own rocket company and shoot your own rockets to space, like Elon Musk, okay? You cannot have China SpaceX, not possible, okay? And another funny example is actually a law firm, okay? In China, if you want to be a lawyer or you want to operate a law firm, you must be Chinese. Any other nationality is not accepted. You must be Chinese, okay? So we move on to the next part, which is registered capital. This is a also very important part that you must understand if you want to incorporate a company in China. So what does registered capital mean? I need to bring you another concept now. So I hope you can understand. We have the term registered capital, and we also have the term paid up capital. So the difference between the two of these is that registered capital is an amount that is stated on your business license, and you are liable up to this amount. So for example, if the registered capital is 1 million yuan, if somebody sues you for 2 million yuan and you don't have 2 million yuan, then you only need to pay him 1 million yuan if something bad happens. Okay, so this is how the law protects you if you open a limited liability company. And a lot of people will ask, so on my company license, I have 1 million yuan. When do I need to pay this money? The answer is very easy, actually. Anytime you like, okay? As long as you write in the articles of association that this amount will be paid maybe in 50 years, maybe in 20 years, it is all accepted by law. Just apart from one circumstance, which is if your company is going bankrupt. And if your company is going bankrupt, you must pay all this amount immediately. So going back to the main topic, if you are a foreigner, okay, and you would like to incorporate a company in China, in most cases, I would recommend you to put the registered capital as 1 million if you're operating a trading company. If you're operating a consulting company, I would recommend your registered capital to be around 100,000 or even less, okay? And if you're opening a factory, okay, maybe a manufacturing company, maybe you want to have a factory in Dongguan, make some toothbrushes, then in this case, I would recommend your registered capital to be at least 10 million, okay? And going back to the registered capital issue, this is also directly linked to getting a work permit and a residence permit in China. So for example, maybe you're a student, okay? Maybe you're a student. Maybe you're married, okay? You're married to a also a foreigner in China, and you're under a student visa, or maybe you're under a marriage visa. In this case, can you open a company in China? a lot of people think that the answer is no, right? Because you're a student, you should study. You're married in China, so you should do whatever couples should do here. So actually, the answer is incorrect. You can still incorporate your company in China, but this is where things get tricky. Having your own company doesn't. Okay, that scared me. Anyways, where was I? Opening your company in China legally does not mean that you can work legally in China. These are two very different concepts. Just because you are the boss of the company doesn't mean you can work legally in China. To work legally, you must have a work permit and a residence permit. And obviously, if you're the boss of your own company, you can hire yourself as maybe the business manager or the CEO of your own company, and you can give yourself a work permit. And I've done this procedure for some African clients. Like, for example, I have a Madagascan client. Sorry, it should be Madagascar, I think, not Madagascan. Anyways, I successfully got some work permits and residence permits from a marriage permit, okay, from a spouse visa to a work permit, because he registered his own company in Guangzhou, okay? So now he's the boss of his own company and he's doing trading business between Madagascar and China, okay? So this is also an easy way for you to get a work permit in China if you wish to. But again, different cities have their different policies, and if you want to get, if your sole purpose is to get a work permit, then you need to choose your city carefully, okay? Because, for example, it is very strict in Shanghai and Shenzhen, and they simply do not give work permits to newly registered companies. You need to operate your business for a while first, and for example, pay some taxes, operate for a year, show the government that this is a real company instead of a company, empty shell company, only for purpose of the work visa, okay? So this is very important. So let's say that you already have your own company in China. So you can legally own the company and you can control the company, but do not work for your company. It has to be you have to be very careful here, because if you get caught working without a work permit and residence permit, you might get fined around at least 5,000 yuan to 10,000 yuan. You will get detained 5 days to 15 days. You might get deported from China, or even worse, you might be banned from China, okay? And the ban may be from 5 years to 10 years, or even eternity, okay? So you gotta be very careful here when you're working in China. And I'll share with you a little, a real case, okay, that happened to, well, not really my client, but I know of this person. So he has a valid work permit under a, let's say, a training center, but he was working at a different address because the training center had, let's say, A, B, C branches in China. So he was working for branch A, and the address on his work permit says branch A, but he was actually working for A, B, and C at the same time. And one day, when the police came to do a surprise raid, they checked his work permit, and the address stated was different than the place he was actually working at. So the poor teacher, he did not even know that he was doing something illegal, because the training center told him that it was legal to do so because he had valid contracts and a valid work permit. But actually, it was illegal. He didn't even know. He got detained for 15 days. He got fined 10,000 yuan. He got sent back to South Africa. Okay? So be very, very careful when you're working in China. Normally speaking, 99% of the time, you'll be fine. But if you are unlucky, if the police do surprise raids, if you get reported by people who dislike you and you get caught, the consequences are very, very serious. Okay, so another useful tip for you to find out whether you're working legally, okay, is to scan the QR code on your work permit and have a Chinese friend check the title. If your title says business manager, but you are teaching English, of course it is illegal. If the address stated on the work permit is different from the actual address that you're working at, also be very careful. You're working illegally, okay? Because a lot of teachers actually have titles as PE teacher, business consultant, administrative staff, human resource manager, marketing developer, content creator, but they're actually teaching English. This is illegal, okay? And do not get caught. Be very careful, okay? If you're already stuck in this situation, I would advise you to find a way to get out of this situation as soon as possible, or the circumstances are just unbearable, okay? They're just unbearable. So yeah, thanks, Victor. I'm glad you find it interesting. I'll move on to the next slide, okay? So for our next type of people who want to do business in China, it is probably trading with China, okay? Maybe you're buying some goods from China and sending it to Africa, or maybe you're, okay, how accessible are bank loans? I will reply to this also within this slide, okay? That's a good question. Anyways, so where was I? Yeah, so maybe you're buying something from China and selling it in Africa, or maybe you're importing something from overseas to China. So how do you do this? Okay, how do you do this? I'll first talk about the common traps that I've seen a lot of traders fall into when they try to commit business with China. The first and most, not important, but I should say, the first and most common scam is the fake company scam, okay? A lot of companies will open a, sorry, I should say a lot of scammers, okay? A lot of scammers will open a fake company using, let's say, a fake ID, okay? You can buy a fake ID in China. It's pretty easy. You can buy from a farmer, okay, for a very cheap price. You buy it from the farmer, and then you establish a company. You call it trustworthy steel company, okay, for example. And when the and you advertise, you pay some money, you advertise on Alibaba, you steal some photos from some actual steel companies, and boom, you have a fake business. And you remember, you should also open a bank account, right? So you cheat. The scammers will try and make you pay 30% as deposits to buy steel from them for the discounted price, right? If you're buying steel, the normal price, let's say, is 10 US dollar per ton. And now you see a great deal for 8 yuan per ton only. Then you're going to talk to him and say, hey, I want this great deal, right? But this guy is a scammer. So what's going to happen is that you're going to pay him 30% of your deposit, and he's going to disappear. He will block you, and he will just disappear after receiving your money. And if you try to sue this company, you'll find out that it is actually owned by a poor farmer in a rural village that has been farming his entire life, okay? And you will never get your money back, because the money, after the scammer scams enough money, he will just close down the bank account, move the money away to overseas, and that will be the end of your money. So be very careful, okay, of this common trap. So this is the first and most common scam, okay? The second most common scam is to give you fake goods, okay? Or just to give you not enough goods. Again, for example, recently I won a case for a Moroccan client. So the Moroccan client tried to buy some solar panels from China, right? And they gave them some second-hand solar panels instead of the first-hand solar panels that they wanted to buy. So obviously they were giving them used products, which was of less value than the money paid for. So this is the second type of common scam, okay? They will give you second-hand goods, or they might just simply give you, if you're buying, let's say, 100 tons of steel, they'll just give you 50 tons of steel, sorry. This also recently happened to a client from India, okay? He tried to buy some steel coils, galvanized steel coils and steel plates, just to find out that the weight was incorrect, okay? Sorry, not India. I think he was from Pakistan. Anyways, so these are the pretty common scams. But the company is a legitimate company. They just give you not enough goods on purpose to try and scam you, and they will bet that you will not sue them, okay? Because it is quite a tenuous journey to sue a person from overseas. You need to notarize quite a bunch of documents. Obviously, you need a lawyer who speaks English, or you won't be able to even communicate with your lawyer, and you lose the lawsuit, which has also happened to one of my clients. He tried to buy some fennel seeds from China, and instead of 8 containers, he received 5. He initially got a lawyer in Tianjin. The lawyer couldn't speak English, and he lost the lawsuit. But later on, he got recommended to me, and there's that. I handled it for him. But anyways, so the way to find out these scams is to use the Alibaba platform. A lot of people, the scammer will try to get you to not use the platform. They will tell you that I can offer you a more discounted price if we deal privately under the platform, because the platform has some kind of commission fee, right? And maybe some tax issues. We can both pay less taxes. So they will try and cheat you to skip the platform, okay? And this is very, very common. They will try and make you skip the Alibaba platform. So the method is to actually use the platform, okay? Do not, we have a saying in China, okay? If you will lose the watermelon if you're trying to pick up the small grape, okay? Okay, it's a bad metaphor, but I think you understand. So don't lose all your money because you're trying to save this little money, okay? It's very important. And obviously, I would advise you to find a trustworthy person to be your eyes in China and actually visit the factory in their address that is stated, okay? Don't just trust somebody that you've never seen in your entire life and just pay them your money. Of course, they'll disappear, okay? So this is also extremely important. And I would like to address Michael's answer here as well, okay? He's asking about how accessible are bank loans. And I would like to tell you that it is actually extremely difficult for a foreigner to get a bank loan in China. But the way to get an easier bank loan is to partner with a Chinese person, because, give me a second. Chinese banks, okay, put yourself in the shoes of the Chinese bank. The Chinese bank will think that, okay, we have this foreigner here. What happens if he borrows the money and he just disappears from China? Okay, they're afraid of this. But if there's a Chinese partner and the Chinese partner is willing to guarantee the loan, then the possibility of getting the loan will be much higher. So, but if you're a fully foreign-owned enterprise and you're trying to get a bank loan, I'm sorry, it's just very difficult. I have clients that is running some business in China, a very famous restaurant in Shenzhen, Futian. He's been doing that business for 3-4 years, and it's been very difficult for him.
Wake up, wake up, mama, wake up, mama, wake up, mama. What
Who
the?
is that? He's
Oh
saying
my
me.
god.
Okay, wake up, mama. Anyways, okay, okay, that caught me off guard. I'm gonna answer Mr. Michael's next question here, which is language a major barrier to doing business in China? I would say that it is a minor barrier because, as well, if you speak English, then you'll find that it is not that difficult to do business in China. Okay, but if you don't speak English, it's gonna be a problem. If your only languages say Dutch or Espanol or maybe French, you're gonna have problems trading with China. Okay, most Chinese only speak Putonghua and a little bit of English, so you're gonna have problem. Okay, I only speak Chinese and English, so no habla español. Okay, so there's there's the answer to the language issue. So one, but there's one very useful tip that I would like to give you when you're doing business with Chinese people, which is to yeah, okay, which is to in your contract when you're signing with the Chinese person, I would advise you to have it in both Chinese and English. Okay, both Chinese and English, and you should not should you must, it is very important, you must have a clause that says the losing party pays for the legal fees. Okay, the losing party pays for all the legal fees, including lawyer fees, court fees, translation fees, transportation fees, authentication fees, preservation fees, notarization fees, all kinds of fees. You must put this in your contract. It's extremely important. So this way, if you really have to sue somebody in China, you know that he will pay for the legal fees when he loses. If you do not have this clause in your contract, I'm sorry, you will have to pay for your own lawyer, no matter whether you win or lose. Okay, so this is also a way to avoid a potential trap, because this way the other party that is also signing this contract will think this guy will actually sue me, and if I actually lose the lawsuit, I will have to pay for his legal fees as well, right? So better not cheat this guy, or it will make him, understand the severeness of the situation. Okay, so there's also another useful tip. Okay, which is that if you're say a middleman or an agent, okay, maybe you're the eyes of a African buyer who would like to buy things in China, then in this case, I would advise you to put the money in an escrow. Okay, maybe you've never heard of an escrow, so I'll explain this concept to you. Especially for big deals, okay, I would recommend escrowing the money. An escrow means that you will put the money in the bank account of a trusted third party. For example, a bank or a law firm. Okay, so this way, the money will only be released to the seller if the goods have been safely transported and inspected by the African buyer. Okay, so in the case of, let's say, the goods received are faulty, the money will be refunded back to the African buyer. Okay, but you'll have to talk to your bank about this. Okay, this is mostly done by banks. So this is also a way to avoid traps when trading with China. So I'll move on to the last and important slide here, which is to protect your brand, protecting your brand. Give me 1 minute. Just gotta drink some water.
Okay, thank you. I'm back again. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna finish up here by talking about protecting your brand in China. So as we all know, there are lots of copycats everywhere in the world, not just China, okay? But it's quite common in China because China is the factory of the world. So obviously, if you have a well-recognized brand, you might want to protect it, especially if you're trying to produce your goods in China. Let me give you a real example here. So there is this client from, I think he was from Denmark or Swiss, well, Northern Europe, okay? I forgot actually, because it was 2 years ago. So what happened to this poor guy was that he he was um he was trying to manufacture some scooters, okay, electric scooter, in China. He wanted to manufacture in China, assemble, and then ship all together to Europe and sell in Europe. Unfortunately for this person, he got cheated by the Chinese factory, okay, and it ended up pretty badly for him. So what happened was the factory stole his design. They stole his design and they patented it, okay? They patented it. So patenting something in China takes around a year, okay? So after the factory manufactured the scooters for him, they took his money and then they patented it. And they, before shipping the scooters, they sent him an email. And what was in the email? The email said, "We have patented your design here, so we are now the owners of your scooter. So now I will give you two options. You will pay me 1 million RMB to buy this patent back." Okay, and not just patent, they trademarked the brand name as well. So they both trademarked and patented it. So if you want to get your trademark back and your patent back, and you have to pay us 1 million RMB. Okay, this is a real case. And if you don't buy it from us, we will call customs to seize the goods, to seize the scooters. Okay. And obviously the client was extremely angry because they were the ones who designed this product and they actually paid the factory to manufacture it for them. But now the factory has stolen the design and has forbidden the goods to be shipped globally. Okay, so this is also a trap that a client has fallen into, and you must be careful when you're dealing with Chinese factories. So very important points are, if you're trying to manufacture in China, you should trademark your brand first, okay, to prevent other people from trademarking it. Number two, you should register at least a design patent if your design is something new, okay? You should definitely patent it to stop others from stealing it. Number three, when you're signing the contract with the factory, it is very important to have a confidentiality contract and a non-competition contract, okay? Which means if the factory tries to steal your idea, they will have to compensate you a lot of money. And if they try to sell your idea to a third party, they will also have to compensate you a lot of money, etc. Okay, so IP protection is something that a lot of foreign brands don't even think of. Okay, they never even think of this. until one day something like what I just mentioned happens, and they just fall into a huge trap, and they end up having to pay quite a lot of money to a lawyer to get them out of this trouble, which they could have prevented at the start by 1/10 of the value. Okay, so um, that's basically it. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed my little speech here, and maybe we're gonna move on to Pepe, right? Or maybe if you guys have some questions, I'll answer you guys after Pepe speaks. Okay, because I need a small break. My voice is rather tired. Okay, I'll take a small break here.
All right, thank you so much, Lawyer Edgar. This was so insightful. In fact, I was just saying, wow, 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 or just wowing. Yeah, actually, I learned a lot, and yeah, considering a lot of things, especially the work visa for teachers. This seems like my first time of hearing about scanning the QR code to know the type of visa that you were given. Just as you said, a lot of teachers here are working with work visa, but they don't even know they are still not legal. Yeah, so that was really insightful. And while we hope for more questions, I don't know, I would just give a minute if anyone can unmute themselves and ask a question. If not, okay, okay. You said you want to rest, all right? You want to rest. That's fine. Maybe we'll come to the question part later. So over to you, Constellation. Please, do you have anything to say in what Lawyer Edgar said? Do you have anything to contribute?
Yes, thank you very much. You can hear me, right? Hello.
Very well.
Okay. Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Edja. Yeah. Well, again, the main purpose of this program is about working legally in China. So all what Mr. Edgar has said is accurately and perfectly well explained as well. But again, to throw more light on it, the purpose of this Zoom is working legally in China. So I believe because foreigners in particular in China. So I believe for every foreigner in China, they are doing a business, which I think most of them are doing. They are just the basic rules that they should follow. Let me just go back again, just in case of those who just came now. As a foreigner in China, before you maybe you're having a student visa or the M visa or the other kind of visas, before you apply, because I'm not just speaking as an agency. Okay, I don't do that job, but I'm speaking because I've been part of this process. So I'm speaking with experience. Before you apply for your company or your visa, that is, if you don't want to exit, you don't want to leave China, before you apply, you should apply at least 6 months before the expiration of your visa. XIOX, 6 months before the expiration of your visa. Then, when you applied, remember in the Chinese data, in the immigration database, okay, more information. In the immigration database, they've had a lot of cases. They've had cases of people getting the visa, traveling to other city, people getting the visa, not respecting the horse one law, a lot of defaults. So they have different kind of cases. So now, how can you get your visa? I know you're using an agent, okay, but how can you make sure that you get your visa? So this is the key. Another important key, your CV, because the immigration who check your work visa process, they have time, and people who have time, you have to fear them. So they check every line of your CV. Okay, you study business management, okay, and you're applying for a work visa. You studied medicine, right? You study MBBS, and you're applying for a company of trading. So what was the connection? So these are some of the issues that you may get rejected. Or you study philosophy in your university, or you study chemistry and you're applying for a company in trading company. So what is the connection? So on your CV, you should make sure that, oh, I studied chemistry in school, for example. So on my CV, I'm going to link chemistry to trading. So probably I'm going to open a trading company, trading chemical company. You get to link it up with your CV because the immigration they check carefully in the line. So in the short, your CV should be up to date, mentioning from your high school. Okay, they check from your high school. Oh, my high school was 2020 to 2020 to 2006. 2006 to what to 20 something. What did you do? So your CV should be, there should be no gap years on your CV. It should be consistent. Now your agent might not tell you all these things. They may not tell you because they can't tell you everything. But these are the key things. Your CV should be up to date. Put it carefully from 2020, 2006 to 2006. I did high school. 2007, 2014, I did university. Consistent. And of course, it should have the 2 years work experience inside. So again, number one is an updated CV, and your CV should have a resemblance to your company. Then the other part is your work your work letter. So whoever is giving you the proof of 2 years work certificate should make sure that it is linked to your degree. Right? Yeah. Okay. So if you finished your bachelor's or your master's or your PhD in psychology, wherever your major was, or chemistry, make sure that your work certificate has a relationship to that department which you finish your school from. So once your CV is fine, your work notification is fine, then you have to prepare another letter, a special letter. But in most cases, people put the letter inside their CV. So you have to put a personal biography about yourself in Chinese. Okay. Because these guys, most of them, they are Chinese. Like they prefer to see Chinese writings than your English writing. So make sure your CV, if possible, is just 100 kwai. Give a Chinese translating company to translate for you. But make sure the English is perfect. But on your biography, make it very clear. Okay. Because now your CV is one end, your biography is another stuff. Make it very clear in Chinese. I graduated from high school this time. I graduated from my bachelor's this time. I want to work in China because of da 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 da. Just hit the main point. That's biography. Probably 5 to 10 lines is fine. Then when all this stuff are fine, that's a very, very high pass mark because whoever is checking your stuff at immigration, they are going to see details. Wow, this person is really organized. He has everything. You have your HSK, you can put your HSK there as well. So anyhow, so that's just the basic step you need. Again, in brief, make sure that when you're applying for your visa 6 months before it expires, of course you can apply 3 months, but it's at risk. So apply 6 months. You can contact Mr. Aja. I think he does that business. So 6 months before your visa expires, that's on one hand. On the second hand, make sure you have all the right documents. Then now, if you are going to graduate 2 years time, for example, and you know you're going to do a business in China, you can open a company in China while you are still in school. So China government does not restrict you not to open company. So you can still open your company in China while you are still in school. I did that myself, okay, as an example. So you can open your company in China while you are still going to your school, but make sure you do not go to your office because when you go to your office, then you are causing a breach. So you can open your company, get an accountant, and work from your home. It's allowed. Okay, work from your home. Then while you open your company and you graduate 2025, for example, please try to make sure the money you receive from your customers pass through your company bank because you want to have the Chinese fapiao, right? You want to have a record of transaction in your bank because it's going to help you in 2025. When you graduate, you want to apply for your visa, the immigration checks your company. Oh, this company was open 2020, 2022. So 2022 to 2025, what did you do? Yes, I understand you're a student, okay, but what did you do with this company? So the immigration can check it carefully and see that, oh, 2020, 2022, 2023, there was income, and those income, it passes through the company bank. So this point I just explained now means you have a company already, or you've been given the visa. Try to make sure your company funds do not pass through Alipay or WeChat. Alipay money and WeChat money is unverified. I can send you 5,000 now or 4,000. Who cares? No one has a record. It's just an APP. But when your money pass through your company bank, it make more sense. When it pass through your company bank, then you have to pay the tax. I think Mr. Aja must have explained the tax. But if he didn't explain, the tax system in China is there are two kind of tax. If I remember, there are the low taxpayers and there's the high taxpayer, something like that. The low taxpayer means that in a year, 12 months, you are going to, if your company bank revenue, like 5 million, less than 5 million yuan, pass through your company bank, less than or equal to about 5 million yuan, pass through your company bank, then at the end of the year, you pay about 2 to 3% of all the money. That is if you do FAPIAU, okay? So that's the tax. But if that's for the high taxpayer, if your company revenue greater than 5 million yuan, that's 5 million, 10 million, and the rest, then you pay about 13%. To cut the story short, the low taxpayer, accounting for your tax, less than 5 million, you pay about 2 to 3%. The high taxpayer, above 5 million yuan, you pay about 13% total to the government. So, well, it makes sense. So that's it. And my last part before I get some question is, in China, it is possible, I've seen, for you to get a 1 year visa or 4 years or 3 years. But before you can be eligible for that, you have to prove to the government, prove to your immigration officer that you have a worth in China. Don't be like those foreigners that go every year, give me, give me, give me, give me visa, give me visa. No, give you visa in the immigration, in the US, in China, anywhere, you are just a bit of number. What is your value in that country? You can see what's going on in Dubai. It happened in China sometimes, whereby the immigration, they reject some certain foreigners, or they reject some people with their visa. It's because of one reason. It's because they are in the country, and it's all about money. They are in the country, but their income or wherever is unverified. So please, if you're in China, you want to live long in China, you want to have peace of mind, try to make sure, forget about what friends says. Sometimes some people, they do not advise the real reason. But you want to live here peacefully, happily, have a 10 years visa or 5 years visa if you want, make sure that you are of worth to the country. And how can you be of worth to the country? You make sure that your company or your business is having the right channel. All the funds you receive pass it through your company bank, revenue the right tax to the government, and life will go very fine. Thank you. I hope for more questions. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really wonderful. Miss Emilia, over to you. You're back.
Yes. We hold on. Let's tap you on. Thank you. We have some questions on the chat here, Miss Pepe, if you can see some of those questions. But before we get to the questions on the chat, Attorney Edgar, can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Okay. Out of curiosity, I wanted to ask you. I know that you have been advising a lot of people because I follow you on some of the group chats that for teachers even. Uh, what is the number one thing that Western workers come to see you in China in terms of trying to make their situation better? Maybe after they have gotten in trouble, whatever. What do you think is the main reason that got them in the first place? From your experience, that what you see, yeah.
I would say two factors. Okay. Number
Okay.
one, The first factor is their own ignorance of the law. The second one, obviously, would be external factors, maybe some unethical employers. So it's mainly two factors combined will make a terrible, terrible outcome. Okay, your own ignorance and some people that don't like you. So we first talk about ignorance of the law.
Ifeanyi
So,
Chukwu.
what was that? Okay.
Okay, sorry. We're gonna mute them. Miss Peppy, can you mute those people, please? Yeah.
A lot of people think that, well, if I don't know the law, then I will not be held responsible, right? If something is legal in my own country and I do it that way, I won't get in trouble if I do the same thing in China, like smoking weed, okay? It is ignorance, okay? A lot of people think that it's the same way, like things that work that way in my country works the same in China, but actually it is not the case. And it is just sad, when people offend the law
So,
just because they don't.
okay.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is knowledge is power.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
ignorant about the laws, then you will get in trouble. Or if you even pretend that, okay, I don't understand, and then just are negligent, it's gonna come and catch up with you. And when
Yep.
you said that you have seen a lot of I guess I could use the word bad employers that basically, due to their own wrongdoing, the workers, the overseas workers, get in trouble. Is that mainly in teaching, or is it in the industry as well that you see your clients, that is?
I would say it's mainly in teaching. Mainly in teaching. The reason is,
Okay.
yeah, the reason is simple. I believe that most people here have a job as a teacher. So obviously, we already have a high percentage of teachers, right? Compared to other
Okay.
professions. Yeah, I think that's the main reason. Second reason is um, the education industry, especially now, is under a bit of scrutiny from the government itself. As we all know, the government is cracking down on training centers and such and such. So obviously, they are forcing a lot of training centers to go underground, and the training centers have to hire teachers under PE teachers, right? And ignorant people do not know that working as English teacher under the title PE teacher is illegal. So boom, we have this unethical employer here that doesn't really care if you get caught or not. And we have the ignorant person himself that doesn't know it's illegal. So put two and two together, and here we go.
Well, when you say PE teacher, did you mean physical education?
Yes, music, PE, art teacher. A lot of art teachers are teaching English, from what I know. Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Edmond just told us that while you are a student, you can open a company. Can you tell us from the legal front a little more on that?
Sure. So as long as you're in China, doesn't matter which city you're in, as long as you're in China legally. Okay, I should I should add the word legally. It's very important.
Okay.
China legally. Okay, then because company law does not restrict any sort of person to open a company in China. The reason is very simple. If you have a company here, you're paying taxes. And if you're paying taxes, the government welcomes your money, okay? The government welcomes
Okay.
your money. Yeah. So anybody is not restricted from earning in money in China because you're paying the government. So they're very happy to earn your taxes, okay? So that is the main reason, obviously. But some cities are rather lenient in um, giving you work permits after you graduate, while some cities are rather strict. For example, for example, Guangzhou is rather lenient. Okay, I think a lot of people call Guangzhou the Africa of China. Have you heard of this?
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't really say it's the Africa of China, but I would say that it is rather lenient. Okay, this is the truth. It
Okay.
is rather lenient, and they do give work permits to people who are registered under new companies. So this is a good sign. It is a good sign. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all of that sounds all positive, and if you follow the rules and but to be very honest with you, realistically speaking, I personally have lost a lot of friends recently who had businesses. I guess maybe Edmund also tapped on that in terms of make sure that you are letting your finances maybe go through your account, so that the government can see, they can track down that you are indeed responsible to pay taxes. But what can you say about that? It really bothered me that I saw a lot of my friends who had companies whose visas did not get renewed. What's up with that recently?
Okay. We to answer this question, we have to go back a little back in time. Let's rewind to 2021 August. Okay. In
Mm.
2021 August, which is a year and 3 months from now, the Chinese government banned training centers from teaching kids English after school. The government is hitting hard, very hard on the education sector. And by hitting hard, they do two things. They hit hard on the companies and they hit hard on the employees. So for the last 10 years, China really didn't give a damn about people teaching English under, to be honest. They really didn't give a damn. I had lots of teachers, especially in Guangdong province, they will go to Hong Kong to renew their um, business visa every 3 months, and they teach English in China for a living. And even very famous brands like English First, okay, they do this illegally for their employees. I have a client who is Malaysian, and EF puts her under a M visa and encouraged her to teach under an M visa. But this was before COVID-19. And back then, China didn't give a damn. You can teach under any visa you want. Although it's illegal, they really didn't do anything about it. No punishments, no surprise police raids. They didn't care. Okay? They didn't care because the companies were making good money and paying their taxes, right? And money is what the government wants. But anyways, so now that we are in this new area of the teaching industry, the government is cracking very heavily down on this kind of activity. And a lot of people, and I'm seeing real businessmen, even real businessmen, okay? Um, in the past, a lot of people would operate their own company, hire themselves as the CEO, as the company, and teach English, and teach English. So the government knows it. They have known it for a very long time, and now they're cracking down on it. So if your company is suspicious to them, it looks like an empty shell company, they're just gonna kick you out of China. So that is the real story now. Okay. And if
Okay.
you do have any even minor mistakes in your past, they will kick you out of China. Let me give you a very simple example. And you will be very surprised to hear this, okay? Very
Yeah.
surprised. I had this Pakistan guy. um, he was in a happy massage massage
Yes.
place. Okay? In 2008, 2008. Okay, he's a teacher. Okay,
Yes.
recently in 2021, when his work permit expired because he got caught 12 years ago for happy massage, and that is the truth. That is the truth because he has this record. Also one thing also that you must know. In the past, um, the police systems were not linked. So if you committed something bad in this city, a minor offense like happy massage, okay, maybe working illegally under wrong title, or maybe overstaying your visa for maybe 3 days, 5 days, minor offenses, okay, maybe
Okay.
being drunk and disorderly, okay, stuff like this. In the past, if you change the province, you would be fine. If you change a province, your record doesn't go over. But since a year ago, they updated this, and now it's a nationwide. So all the police stations in China share the same national system. So if you commit something in Xinjiang,
Oh.
they now see it in Shenzhen. So
Oh, okay.
any
So
reason you
that's
give,
what,
yeah.
yeah, that explains it. Wow. Okay, Miss Peppy, we have some questions in the chat. If you can ask both Mr. Edmund and our attorney here, we're very, very happy to have our homeboy here tell us things the Chinese way. And Mr. Edmund here is very experienced in business as well. So, Peppy, why don't you ask some of those questions, please?
All right, thank you so much. There's one question here by Prince, and that question I think is over to you, Miss Lawyer Edgar. What do you do when you send a design to a company to produce the product for you, and the company turn out to mass producing and sell the product to every buyer that wants it? How do you deal with such incidents, or how do you mitigate such without registering your IP in China?
Okay, this is a extremely good question. Okay, this is a very useful question also to our other um, listeners. Okay, to this seminar. Um, it's pretty easy actually. Before you actually deal with the factory, you keep your design secret first. Okay, you must keep it secret, and you must have a trade secret contract if it has not been registered under a trademark, patent, or copyright. If it is a design, maybe you can patent it. If it's, let's say, a drawing, you should copyright it. If it is a software programming code, if it is code, right, you can also copyright it. But obviously, copyright, patent, trademark all takes a bit of time, right? It takes 9 months. So what do you do within this 9 months to protect yourself? I believe this is your answer. I mean, sorry, your question. So the answer is you sign a contract with the factory, a non-disclosure contract, which says if the factory steals the idea or sells it to somebody else or produces it on its own, he will be penalized a huge sum of money, let's say $1 million US, or he will also be penalized based on the amount he sells of goods. Okay, so and a contract is very important here. Okay, to keep you safe until your IP is registered. Okay, I hope this answers the question.
Mhm. Great. Okay, before I go on with the question on the chat box, I actually have one in my head. I need to ask you. Yeah. I've been wondering, as you said, everything is about, you're a lawyer, right? Everything about Lego, Lego, Lego. I know that. Actually, it's also somehow hard for some starting students here. They just can't do without doing one or two minor jobs, which I know that is illegal. Yeah, everybody knows that. Yeah, but some people have been in a situation where they, after working, their employers kind of kick them out and seize their 6 month salary. In this kind of scenario, what do you think this person should do? Is there any means to get his money back? when this person knew that he or she is working illegal, and yeah.
Um, the answer is don't work illegally. Okay, very important. Because if you work illegally, okay, that's actually a way to work legally as a student. I'll first tell you how to work legally as a student first, okay? There is something called an internship, okay? So if you, let's say you're a chemistry student, so you can work legally in a chemistry laboratory or a chemical plant as an intern, and you can earn money, okay? But there are two requirements. The first requirement is that you must gain approval from your university. So you gotta see your professor and tell him, hey, I want to have an internship. He'll most likely approve it because students should get some work experience, right, while they're learning. This is the only way you can learn. So they will very likely approve it. Once you have the approval from your university, and it has to be stamped by your university. It's a red stamp, okay, with a star in the middle. Has to be stamped. The approval letter. Once you're approved, you can go to the police station, which is the exit entry administration branch of the police station, and apply for a stamp on your passports that says you can work in China legally as a student. Okay, it's a extra stamp, and once you have the stamp, you can work legally as a student in the industry that you might want to specialize in. Okay, but obviously, again, if you're a Russian student and you're gonna go to an English training center to teach English, I don't think they will let you do so. Okay, so so it's gonna be related. Okay, if you're majoring in computer science and you want to teach English, so I don't think um, you're gonna legally be allowed to do that unless you're making a program for the school or whatever. Okay, you gotta convince them. How do you convince them? That's up to you. Okay, yeah. But going back, so I've talked about how to legally work, and obviously you should legally work. But let's say you've worked illegally. Okay, you've worked illegally without student visa, you're not getting paid by your boss. Unfortunately, there's no good solution to this because you're not protected by Chinese law if you're working illegally. So let's say you go to the courts and sue your employer. What happens? You lose the lawsuits. Okay, unfortunately, you will lose. Okay, I'm terribly sorry. You will lose because, and you'll be kicked out of China if you get fined out, if you get caught as well. So just don't do it. Okay, if you do it and you fall into the trap, you don't get paid, learn the lesson. Don't do it again. Okay, do it the way that I suggested just then. Okay.
All right then. So we move over to the next question. Let me see. Okay. This question is from Mr. Kolawale Michael. He said he asked, what can African and Chinese governments do to support Africans interested in doing business legally with China? In China, maybe in China. That should be in China.
Is this question also directed to me?
Yeah, and that should be to you because it's talk about working legally in China. So what do you think as a Chinese and also a lawyer here, what do you think Chinese government should do to support Africans interested in doing business here?
I think number one would be, well, obviously, it's just my personal opinion, okay? Obviously, would be to, I don't know when this will happen, but obviously, it would be to reopen the borders, okay? Because if Africans can't even come to China and see China for themselves, how can they trust China and wants to work in China, right? Simple as that. Open the damn borders. Open the borders. Yeah.
Tired.
That's number one. Number two would be to probably have the embassy to maybe organize some China tours, some business tours. Maybe some chambers of commerce can organize some business tours for entrepreneurs or businessmen from Africa to visit China and maybe to see how they can establish their business in China, right? I think this will also be useful. An obvious number three would be to um, facilitate, trade with China, facilitate trade, maybe to um, lower some taxes. But that's also not something I can do here. Okay, I'm not the government, unfortunately. But I think China has been supporting Africa. I think China really treats many African countries as their brothers because, especially in infrastructure, right? China has been helping build many bridges and infrastructure from roads, bridges, some canals, and some harbors, to facilitate international trade. So I think this is also extremely helpful because this can help, ships international trade routes, right? For ships to directly ship their goods to different African countries. And I think this is extremely helpful, actually. So to build more ports and maybe railways in Africa so that maybe Chinese businessmen can also open their factories in China and, produce some kind of goods in China as well. I think that's also pretty useful. And the Chinese government is also actually doing this on a large scale, the Belt and Road project. So there's that.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Lawyer Edgar, for such insightful information. Um, I don't know if anybody wants to ask a question. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, please, I have a question.
Thank you. Okay, over to you. Please just briefly introduce yourself and then go on with your question. We'd like to know you.
Okay, sure. Hi everyone. My name is Jane. I'm currently in Shandong Province, and I'm my final year in university. First, I would like to say thank you so much to Mr. Ardna and the other speaker. Sorry, I forgot your name. I have a question. I'm in my final year, and I overheard you saying something about we should get ready for work visa like 6 months to the expiration date of work visa. I don't know how that's gonna be, or if there are processes to doing that. Thank you. Like, what do you advise? Because I should be done by next year, and I am really, really, really worried about my afterlife here in China. After my university days, Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Who would want to answer the question? Mr. Constellation. You talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Thank you very much for your question, man. That was a smart one. So first of all, since you are going to graduate next year, so you should try and make your intention very clear. Number one, 2 points. Okay, 2 points. Number one, do you want to do a business in China? That's open a company by yourself. That's number one. Or do you want to employ, like to be employed as a worker, like work in China? Okay. So let's start with the first one. If you want to open a company in China, then you can contact an agency, probably Mr. Edger. I think he does this business. So you should try to do that 6 months before your visa expires. Now, this is how it works. Let me try to break down the steps because I try to avoid detailed explanation, but let me just try to do that. If you want to open a company in China, first of all, you have to you just need your passport, your international passport, right? So you can walk up to an agency in your city, or you can come to Shanghai or contact any agency. So they can open a company for you with just your international passport and your presence. Then you sign. Then after that, you go back to your city and your agent can help you apply for your work notification letter. So to apply for the work notification letter, you can be in your city while that application is ongoing. The work notification letter, your agent will tell you the checklist. So some of the checklists are to provide a police report from your country, which you can do. You can call your country people to do a police report for you. The police report will be sent to China, the originals. Then the originals should be authenticated at your country embassy in Shanghai or in Beijing. That's one of the documents. The other document is your work experience. 2 years work experience. You can contact any of your previous employers to provide you a 2 years work experience, and the work experience should coincide with your course of study, because you want to open a company, right? So it should coincide somehow. The rest documents are easy. Your medicals, you have to do it in that city. It depends. In Iwu, you do the medical in Iwu. In Shanghai, you do the medical in Shanghai. I don't know your city rules, so you have to find out from your agency. So once you've gotten your police and all the documents, you're fine. So your work notification letter or your work card, it can be on the process. If everything goes fine, it takes about 1 month, about about 10 to 20 working days for you to get the work notification letter. Then now, once you've gotten the work notification letter, that's a good news. So what that means is you are probably around 80% done. So you relax in your school, finish your thesis carefully, and collect your original graduation certificate, and immediately you graduate from that school. That is when you take your original results, then you can now show your school your work notification letter and tell them that you are going back to your city to apply for the visa. So you got to take permission. Don't try to bypass your school on this process. Yeah, you can bypass them while applying for the work notification, but when you get it, make sure you involve them, because you will need them at the end stage, because the immigration in your new city you're applying for the visa are going to call your school, or they will call your immigration. Although Mr. Edgar said, which is true, that the immigration in China right now is linked together, so they can call your all, despite the immigration can see it, but they still call your teacher, or they'll call your school to just ask some personal questions about you. So just make sure you keep your school on the process. I understand maybe you have some other questions like, oh, I have not graduated yet, right? You might be asking this question that you haven't graduated yet. So how can you apply for the notification later? Okay, there are three stages now in this question. So if you already have, assuming you're doing your PhD right now, so that means you already have your master's and bachelor's. So you apply for your work using your master's results or your bachelor's results. The minimum is bachelor's results. But if you are just going to get your bachelor's result next year, so well, it's going to be tough. But I've seen in some cases it is achievable. So you tell your school to give you a proof, graduation certificate. That is a proof that says that Mrs. AAA has been studying in this school from 2018 and is expected to graduate 2022. Okay, so you have to bring your pre-graduation certificate or your study certificate, that's what it's called, and your transcript that says, normally the transcript should say semester 1 to semester 8, right? With 4 years program, bachelor's. So I believe if you're applying 6 months before the time, so your transcript should be having semester 1 to semester 7. Of course, the last year is probably your thesis and some stuff. So what you need, you have all the documents. Provide your pre-graduation certificate and provide your incomplete transcript, semester 1 to semester 7, and you can look for an agency to make your applications. I can tell you of the rules in Guangzhou, the rules in Shanghai and Yiwu, but for other province, I have limited information there. Feel free to ask more questions if it's clear enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Constellation. From what you just said, does it mean there is an exception for people with a work visa? I mean, work experience, because I believe they usually say like 2 years work experience. From James' question is basically like, what of those people that have never worked? So where do they get the work experience, especially if they've been studying here? And we all know that students can't work. So even if you work, you can't even present that as a working experience. So do you think the certificate that proves maybe the study duration, it's enough to cover the work experience?
Okay, for that part, I will try to be diplomatic here on that part. Yeah. But I believe, number one, I believe the agency has the right answer to that, because the agency will say some certain things I wouldn't want to say here. But however, let me try to say the ones that's good for the public. If, for example, the lady who asked this question is about, maybe she's about 22 years, so which means that she started a bachelor's degree when she was 18. So that means that she doesn't have that 2 years experience, because in some provinces like my province, my city, they count your experience from the age of 18 years. So 18 years means you just entered your bachelor. So of course you cannot have that experience. However, the applicant can be eligible for entrepreneur visa. So the entrepreneur visa is aimed to bypass that process of 2 years work experience. But on the other hand, if they have if they have some gap years, maybe the lady is about 24 years. Okay. So your agent, or you can use your common sense, just provide us with a 2 years work experience from your father's company, your friend's company, but make sure it's legal. Okay. Provide a 2 years work experience, but make sure, because the immigration, they have time, and people that have time, you have to be scared of them. Make sure the 2 years work experience you are bringing does not coincide with your bachelor's degree study. So if you graduated in 2020, make sure your work experience is from 2020, the next month, to date. Just make sure you have that 2 years. If you are 30 years old, it's not a problem. Just make sure your work experience covers 2 years minimum or above, and it should not coincide with your study years. So that's the answer to that question in brief.
Sorry. The question is actually from me, and I'm
Okay.
25. I've been in China for 3 years, where I'm currently doing my bachelor's here in Shandong. Do you mean if I'm to bring a 2 years experience, it shouldn't be while here in China? Because I have been studying all through my stay in China. You mean maybe back home in my home country, or bringing your experience as a student here in China is very, very, very not safe. So, so do
Okay.
you mean before
Okay.
I arrive China, or yeah?
Okay. Cool. Um. First of all, if you are going to get a 2 years work experience, just make sure that you can get it from anywhere. Of course, most people get it from back home, right? So just, of course, it should be from back home, because how can you work in China when you have a student visa and you bring in a proof that you work? So it may work, but I've not seen that case. So the most cases I've seen is people bring their work experience from another company back in their country. The immigration they do not verify those information you brought, right? So you get your work experience from another company in your country or other countries that you've traveled to. And again, sometimes, because when you apply for the work notification letter, your agent applied through a management system online. So sometimes they return your application, and they bring more questions like, we don't understand your high school, or we don't understand this part, explain more. So for you to avoid such things, these guys, they have time, remember, just make sure that your work experience you are bringing, oh, I work in a Daphna company in Dubai. Okay, sometimes the immigration might ask you, give us a proof of the Dubai visa, which you've gotten there. So make sure when you get your work experience, the work experience you've gotten is in your home countries to avoid further questions and to keep you on the safe side.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was really clear. I will be
Yeah.
taking like two more questions because we almost ran out of time. So I'll just take two questions and please, since like some of the questions are being repeated,
Okay.
you kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch this program all over again. You will get to understand everything they've said before you joined. This question will go to Mr. Edgar, also from Prince. I guess he was not clear about the Chinese company copying your IP address or something. So he said, how do you go about signing this non-disclosure agreement, which you talked about before, when you are not in China? Can you give more insight on how to go about it? Maybe you already registered this IP in your home country.
Two ways. The first way is to sign it digitally. Okay, it's self-explanatory digitally. So basically, you print it out on a piece of paper, you put your company stamp on it, you scan it into your computer, then you send it to the other party. Then he prints it out, stamps it, and puts it back, and scans it. Okay, I'm sorry. So sign it digitally. Okay, pretty easy. China recognizes digital signatures. Okay, so don't worry about this part. Number two, do it by paper, the good old fashioned way. You make 3 copies of the agreement, stamp it, send it to China. The Chinese company stamps it, sends it back to you. So now you have a paper copy, right? Easy. So the 2 ways of signing it. Here's your answer. Second way, maybe you're registered, maybe you already registered that IP in your own country, right? I actually like this question. For all kinds of IP apart from copyright, so which is trademark and patents, if you have already registered your trademark in, let's say, Europe, okay, doesn't mean that you're protected in China. These IP rights are limited to the country that you register them in. So let's say if I'll give you a good example. Let's say Mercedes-Benz, okay? You all know this brand, or McDonald's. When they came to China, they had to register their trademark from scratch, okay? And oh, there's also an even better example, Apple, okay? So in 2003, Apple did not register their, I think it's iPad, okay? iPad trademark. So a Chinese company found they hadn't even started selling iPads in China back then. Okay, they were selling it in the US and Europe, but not in China. They hadn't even introduced this product in China. So a Chinese company took advantage of this situation and registered the 4 letters iPad in China as their trademark. So they were first to do it before Apple did it, okay? And they successfully registered it. And they sued Apple in China for infringing the word iPad, okay? China paid, sorry, not China, Apple paid them quite a bit of money to buy it back. So there's that. But so a lot of people took advantage of this case and they started registering all kinds of trademarks, okay? Any sort of trademark that is overseas but not in China. They started doing this. So a few years ago, China updated trademark law, and basically if you want the trademark to be valid, you gotta actually use it now, not just register it. So if you cannot prove that you're actually using this trademark, then China will ask you to, they will invalidize it, okay? Because you register it and never use it, okay? So now the law is updated and it protects the trademark owners now. So interesting story, right? Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. I to Prince, I bet his answer was so clear and he answered your question as you wished. So I'm so grateful to our honorable speakers. Thank you so much for having you. So now I'm going to um, give the floor to Miss Emilia. Please come in, and also I believe we'll have one more question. And Mr. Ken, if you're still here, maybe you can pick up from there. Thank you so much. Miss Emilia, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. Thank you so much. Hold on, let me close the volume, please. Oh, okay. Thank you. I believe that people have more questions, especially the students in this country. They really want to do business. Before we go, I want to ask both Mr. Edmund and Attorney Edgar. Yes, it's wonderful to open this business. It sounds sweet, but I also understand that with opening that office come the responsibility of with opening the company, a business, come the responsibility of having to have an office. How is a student who is trying to make money going to have money to have an office, Attorney Edgar? How do you get around that? What is the law on having an office?
That's actually a very good question. There are a lot of virtual offices allowed to, let's say, students. Okay, I wouldn't say just students, any type of businessman. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a way to avoid expensive costs, which is to have a registered address, which means that you will buy this address for, let's say, a year at a discounted price of maybe only 1,000 yuan per month, right? So it is more affordable this way. And it is a legal address, okay? It is a legal address. So you can legally register this on your business license. And this is done very widely, not just for foreigners, but also Chinese. Okay. But be careful. Okay. One thing that is, it only applies to certain cities. So it is not a very firm answer here. For example, if you want to do the same thing in Shenzhen, you got to actually have your own office. It can be a teeny tiny office, maybe 2,000 yuan rents per month, but you got to actually have an office because they will actually come and check and they will want to see your face in the office, okay? Especially if you're trying to do it in Shenzhen, okay?
Well, what if you have your secretary there? Is that okay?
They will book in advance before they come and meet with you.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's not a
Thank you
random.
so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. Mr. Edmund, do you have anything to say in regards to opening an office for companies?
Yes, very well. Thank you very much again, Mrs. Emilia. Yeah, as a student, it's difficult to have an office and have a house at the same time, especially for those who are just starting up. But again, you can't eat your cake and have it, right? You cannot eat your cake and still have your cake in your hands. So what that means is that you just have to make the sacrifice. When you open a company in China, you need an office address, right? So you must have a real office. I know many of the agencies in Guangzhou, they try to tell you you can get a virtual office. You can just pay some certain amount, then just for you to get an office address or some kind of fake contract or something. Yeah, it could work, but you put yourself at risk, right? You want to stay in China legally. You want to live happily, like without any kind of police issue. You want to make your life easy. Get an office in China. Sorry, okay. No matter how small, like Mr. Iga has said, 2,000 yuan, 1,500 yuan, or even 1,000 yuan, just make sure you get an office. When you get the office, you are building your brand, you are building your platform, right?
You don't want problems. Okay, so get an office, no matter how cheap, and make sure that you are in your office. I understand sometimes maybe you don't understand your office, it's fine, but just make sure you have an office because here in China, whether you like it or not, every single day people are following you. Okay, the immigration staff, they are following you everywhere. So so don't. Some people get the visa, they get the office for 2 months and they quit it. When you quit, your office landlord information is with the immigration. So when you go in to apply for your visa the next time, the immigration will not verify whether you have an office for 12. No, they will call your landlord of that office. Did he rent this office for 12 months or for 6 months? The immigration will say yes or no. Despite the landlord is your friend, but the immigration is going to say the truth. So to avoid all these kind of long stories, just try your best. Make sure you have an office. Then how your company can make income, I think you can discuss that one with Mr. Iga. After you've gotten your visa and every stuff, you can discuss it with the agency or some foreigners who have gone far in business and discuss how you can be having the funds at least to pay your rent and of course your accommodation every month. That's not a big deal. So thank you very much again for this program.
Thank you so much.
Oh, one last thing I would like to tell you guys as well. So, um, legally speaking, you can also have a home office, legally speaking, which means if you talk to your landlord in advance and you say, I want to register my company at my home, legally speaking, it is allowed, okay? But you gotta have your landlord's um, permission or approval, I should say, obviously. And I would recommend you to have at least 12 months of operating expense on hand. Um, Maybe let's say at least a six-digit number, okay, on hand, or at least 6 months, okay, of operating expenses on hand before you actually open your company. Because you have a lot of expenses when your company is actually registered. You have taxation expenses, you have accounting expense, auditing expense, rent to pay. Um, you also have the what's that called? Maybe you also want to hire a lawyer, right? You gotta have some money on hand. So um, if you really want to register your company, make sure you have enough cash on hand. If you don't have enough cash on hand, maybe you can borrow, let's say, a friend's company and give him a little bit of your earnings, okay, as a commission to start your business first, and then actually move it to your own brand name when you have enough money, okay? So that's my
But
trick here.
do I hear you correctly when you say I can actually use my home as my office?
That is correct. That is correct. As long as it is a legal home that is registered with the police, it is legal to do so.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I live
And
in
you
Beijing.
you need the
So
landlord.
this is
Yeah.
true for all of China because
All
I
of
live
China.
in. Oh, okay.
You
Well,
need
that's good to know.
landlord's
I
permission, obviously.
You need
Land
the landlord permission. Okay. So you
landlord
can.
has to pay
Okay.
taxes. Yeah.
So then at the end of the year, you can use the rent that you pay in there and claim that as expenses, right?
That is correct. 100% correct.
Oh, so you're paying rent for your house and using that for your business. Oh, well, that's very good. I never knew that you could do that. I know in America you can, but I didn't know that in China you could do that. Okay, thank you so very much. This brings us to an end of our program. We're actually a little bit late, but these are very useful information, especially for the students who are planning to have business here in China. And Attorney Edgar, we hope to have you back again. Mr. Edmund, you are an experienced businessman. We hope to have you back on this topic. We hope to have part two of this because this is very important. Even myself as a teacher, I surely would like to open a business here. And we are going to have Mr. Michael give the vote of thanks. And if anybody else has any extra questions, if our guests have extra time to answer, they will. But let us officially end this program at this point. And Miss Pepe, anything you want to say before Mr. Michael says the vote of thanks?
Oh, nothing really. I'm just a bit excited and very happy. Yeah, personally, I learned a lot today from the information they shared. Really, I just, after hearing the whole thing, I just feel a bit prepared in my heart, taking the
Uh,
further step about starting a business. Thank you so much for this wonderful webinar. I'm the moderator, but I'm also happy. I just feel like I'm also one of the participants. Thank you so
yeah,
much. Over to you, Mr.
of
Michael.
course. Of course.
Yeah, thank you so
Mr.
much,
Ken,
Miss.
Mr. Ken, all the way from
Okay.
Cameroon. Can Mr. Ken, can you hear us? Say something real quick before Mr. Michael. Mr. Ken, are you
Yes,
with us?
yeah, thank you very much. There's somebody possible asking where can he or she watch today's meeting again. So our YouTube channel, I don't know, somebody should just Mr. Mike, just type on
Do
the
that.
chat
I'll do
box,
that.
please.
By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there already.
Okay.
It's there on the platform
It's a
already.
wonderful program. I
Yeah.
know, of course, I know lawyer Edgar. I know I've worked with him so many times. It's a wonderful lawyer, very, very perfect person. It was a nice program, and we hope to have Mr. Edgar again here over and over again. Thank you.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
yeah. Hello. Oh,
No, go
actually,
ahead.
Mr. Ken actually introduced Lawyer Edgar to me, and since I met him, he has been so, I mean, wonderful. You know, he's filled with wisdom, and he likes to defend the blacks. You know, he
Very
doesn't
friendly to
discriminate.
blacks.
Yeah, he doesn't
We
discriminate.
call him a
I just
foreigner's
like him.
lawyer. Foreigner's lawyer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's a foreigner's lawyer. Actually, we have written something. I mean, it's in the current edition of BridgeAfrique. So once the magazine is out, you will read more about him. You know, we want to appreciate you, Lawyer Iga, for your commitment and dedication to the cause of humanity, not only blacks, humanity. We appreciate you and we want to enjoin you to keep up the good works. You know, we also want to thank our own Edmond for your insightful presentations. It's been awesome. It's so revealing. You know, there's this saying that knowing what to do is half of getting what you want. And the excuse is not ignorance is not an excuse in law. Now that we have been informed of all the things, the do's and don'ts in law in China, I don't think anybody have a reason to abuse their law again. We appreciate you for all these contents you share with us. It's so helpful. And also, we want to thank Jane Bernard. You know, he was also in the house. We want to thank Clovis and of course our own daily nugget founder, Emilia Bywaters. We appreciate you all the time for your moderation, for your present. I mean, wonderful moderation. We want to thank. I don't know. I use iPhone 12. Is that you, Ken? Okay.
No.
Yeah, we also want to thank Mr. Prince. Prince also asked some insight. I mean, some good questions. You know, and we learned a lot from it. I actually have something to ask Lawyer Iga after this vote of thanks concerning one of our brothers who also fulfill all righteousness and yet, you know, lose all his rights. I want to know more about it, but not now. After this vote of thanks, then we want to thank Tinashe Makoni. We appreciate your coming, your presence, and we want to thank Victory, you know, for coming on the program. Thank you so much, every one of you. And like Madam Emilia have said, we are likely to have part 2 of this program. So let's keep our ears to the ground as we inform you the next date of presenting the part 2 of this program. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for all your commitments to all our programs. And we assure you that you will never lack any information as to keep up with us. Thank you so much. One love.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are now officially ending. Thank you, Pepe, for the wonderful co-moderation. Mr. Ken, it's good to see you that there is an internet in Cameroon. I'm just teasing you. I know in Congo, we have a hard time in Congo with this electricity, internet, Wi-Fi, all this, but I'm glad to see Cameroon is living up to the expectation. Thank you so much.
Actually,
good night,
they are
everyone.
using 5G.
And we are officially going to end the recording at this point, and so you can just hang out if you want to.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying.
Mr. Tunde is also online. We appreciate you, Mr.
Thank you so
Tunde.
much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Why does
Then have a good night.
such a bright background? Ken,
Yes.
why is your background so bright?
No, I mean, I'm 3 weeks old now in
The
Cameroon.
recording has
I
stopped.
returned back to Cameroon 3 weeks
Oh,
today.
you returned back. When did you go?
Yeah. On the 9th.
On the 9th. Okay. I
Yeah,
see.
Lawyer Egan.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Yeah, thank you so much for coming tonight. We appreciate you. Then there's something I want to ask, because you know this guy, what's his name? Big Greeny, David. He's a Canadian. Yeah, I called him few days ago, and he was telling me he left China to, that he was just telling me some news. But I know he registered his products. He did patent right and all that. So what actually happened?
I haven't talked to David Spence for 2 years, okay? He's left China since COVID hit. Yeah, because he couldn't get visas. Yeah, he couldn't get enough extension. So he went to Hong Kong first, and then he went back. I haven't seen him.
Yes, I think he's in Thailand now. Yes, I think he's in Thailand now or something. Yeah.
It's been a very long time. I haven't talked to him for a very long time. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Wow, that's good. So thank you so much. We really.
Yeah.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, so it's a nice one.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, actually here it's already 10:23, so I am in Shanghai.
Okay.
And
yeah, okay.
I don't know if that student is still there. It's good to have the good, how to call it, grades when you graduate, because I look after it in Shanghai. I have Shanghai experience. So if somebody wants to apply the work visa or something after graduation, with master degree, if you have studied in Shanghai, yes, it's possible to have, they don't need work experience or something. If you got the master degree, yes, they can give you. I have people around from Cameroon, Nigeria, different countries who got the visa past 2-3 years. Myself, when I completed my master degree, I got the work visa. I was working for a company before. I also had a chance to open a company here. It's why the lawyer Edgar, are you located in Shanghai or where? Is it possible to have your contact? Eventually,
I'm in
Shenzhen. Yes, I also have some business in Shenzhen. I'm partly in IT field, and we lost some money this year. I lost almost 100,000 RMB in Shenzhen.
Wow.
No, I maybe the contract was not correct, but I hired some people. I mean, not me, my company, the company I created. We hired some engineer for some projects, and we pay in advance. Unfortunately, at the time, Shenzhen went also in lockdown. For I don't know, it was before March, before Shanghai. They were in lockdown. So at that time, all the resources that I hired on behalf of another company for a project, we pay first, but then we never got back the money, and our company is sorry about that. So if you're in Shenzhen, you can also help for company. I mean, in China, right?
In China, all over China, man. All over
Okay,
China.
so I will really appreciate that. Maybe we can share, I don't know, maybe your email or something where I can contact you later.
Yeah, I'll send it on the chat. Okay, you can add my WeChat here.
Yes, directly I will email you just for contact. And if you
Yeah,
WeChat, okay, I take the WeChat first.
Okay, yeah.
So sorry guys, I couldn't. I had many questions, but I was, as you can see, I went from out and I was not really, how to say, I was listening carefully, but it was not easier for me to ask questions or maybe to answer some. I am Clovis from Cameroon, so my country is Cameroon. I'm in Shanghai. I also had a chance to create a company here past 2 years. So there are some questions also from Shanghai that maybe, because I'm already running a company, I might have to answer for. Maybe after the meeting, if some people want also to ask about Shanghai. I'm more in IT field. This is why I used to work with Shenzhen business partner. But as all foreigners in China, whatever company you have, you always have to deal with trading. We all do trading. Buy from China, I said, but it's difficult to import something even
I wanna do something legal. Hey, I wanna do something legal. I wanna do something legal. Hey, doing business legally in China just got better. Join us this Saturday as we'll discuss how to do business legally in China with Edmond Igweifo and Edgar Choi as our speakers and our moderators.